Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Airbrand Podcast. This is season 4, episode 17. The title of this episode is called Brother to Brother, and I have the honor of having AJ, bro from TikTok. Man, you know his face, you know his voice. Here we go.
Oh, man. Appreciate you having me, dog. It's been a long time coming, like we mentioned before. So I appreciate you having me on here, man. Appreciate you just connecting, and yeah, dog. This is it's all about building community. So that's what this is all about.
Absolutely. So, the main question I like to ask in the beginning of each episode, are you living your best life for you?
Yeah, I believe so, man. I'm real hard on myself, and the my potential and what I want to pursue for myself. I'm not there yet. I got a long ways to go, but where I'm currently at, I'm gracious. I try to practice gratitude as much as possible, and I try to be in the present. You know what I mean? As somebody that feel like a visionary or often an idealist, which people try to use that as a negative term, but I think it's good to kind of be an idealist sometimes. You have to think about the future, what's next, how you can make things better, all that type of stuff. So as I gotten older, I've been more in the present, and that's helped me with a lot, dog. You know what I mean? That's helped me when you got good days, bad days, just practicing that gratitude. And it just make the little things a lot better. So I'm loving my life. People always talk about things can always be better, but at the end of the day, things could always be worse as well. So I appreciate where I'm at, and I ain't got too much to go about.
Yeah, that's wonderfully put. Honestly, because people tend to dwell. I have been there. People tend to dwell on the past and get stuck, and they're like, "Oh, it's." Then it gets past of being reminiscent of what happened, and you're like, "Oh," and you get stuck in a rut. So you need to live in the present, like focus on what you can control now. You can't go back in time. Um, Maybe when they invent time machines, but yeah, but definitely focus on
I
that.
got a crazy theory about
Yeah. So to get more into what we're going to be talking about tonight, what would you change in the black community?
that. Man, that's such a layered question, dog. But the biggest thing I want from my people, bro, is this self
Yeah,
determination, dog, and just being able to control our own narrative, man, and control our own resources across the diaspora. And I want us to bridge the gap and work together. Like you got the Black Panther in the background. If we talking about being an idealist, dog, in my ideal world, maybe it's not a Wakanda, but Wakanda is kind of a concept in which we all live by. You know what I mean? It's kind of like we govern ourselves but stay well connected, and we leverage our power, our resources, our narrative across the globe, for ourselves, and what we need for our people. And what that looks like, I don't know, exactly. And I think it's people like you, it's other people that I've connected with that is here to help me shape that vision, and we all bring something like that we like together and bring it in. So I one of the biggest things I would definitely also change is just the accountability for coonery, bro.
yeah,
It just man, I always talk about it on TikTok, but bro, like they just such a different breed, dog, and I can't understand it for the life of me. And it's I grew up on morals, principles, standing, believing in something and not falling for nothing, dog. And it's it's sad sometimes, but it's like sometimes I just become desensitized to it because you can't waste your time with those type of individuals. But also, and one of my mutuals, Brandon, on TikTok, that mentioned this, where it's like there needs to be people out there extending the olive branch and kind of willing to work with these people to rehabilitate them if that's something that they want. But at our current state as a community, like rehabilitation and waste the resources on that is just not an option, dog. We got better things to worry about. You either on board or you're not, and it's like a lot of these motherfuckers is not
no,
on board, bro. So it's like at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? We need to hold people more accountable for their coonery, dog, and find ways to almost excommunicate them from the community, and banish them.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Now they don't get a chance to enjoy the cookout. They don't get a chance to enjoy black-owned restaurants. They can't go and do certain things. Like you're not allowed here. And I think that's something that also I would change too with the shape and the structure and the scope in which we hold those people accountable. That's really the biggest thing, and just being able to leverage ourselves better
yeah,
politically, and that comes with controlling our own narrative and our resources, and You know, that's so complex and there's so many layers to it. I don't have the answers to that. I don't think none of us really had the answers to that. A lot of us talk about theories and what we would like in our opinions, but what it actually shapes out to be is gonna, you know, it's gonna constantly change over time. And it's gonna be what's best for us now, but it's not gonna be what's best for us forever. You know, and I think the best thing that we can do is just set up the next generation to deal with as little problems as possible and really kind of focus on their self determination and controlling their narrative instead of combating the
Right.
world. And that's kind of the number one thing that I want to do is, you know, before I leave and go on the next plane, what I would like is for my people to not have to worry about constantly dealing with white supremacy, but more so dealing with how they want to evolve and, you know, show themselves in the world and show up. So, you know, that's my biggest thing. That's something I'm working towards. You know, and every day I'm kind of setting up a plan, strategizing, and things like that. And you know, that's kind of what I want to spend the rest of my life doing.
Yeah, no, that's good because I feel like once you, I guess in a way, you turn your back on the black community, like especially being part of it, you shouldn't. You should be shunned. Yeah, you should be shunned.
Yeah.
And like for me, the thing I would change like some togetherness and on the lines of like, so if you're from a certain neighborhood and then you make it out, there should be more people celebrating instead of people like hating. Like especially like if you come back to like give back, they're like they have it out for you, like to rob you or kill you or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey,
Definitely, I would change that
I'm,
ultimately because what's the point of that? Because they have people have it stuck in their mind. They're like, okay, they're like brainwashed. They're like, oh, this person think they're better than us because they're at this status now or whatever status that they put you at because you made it or so called made it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think about that too. And as somebody from, you know, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, dog, and I love my hometown. But you know, a lot of people can't see nothing that's bigger than the city, and they can't think on a scale that's bigger than, you know, the bubble that they
Yeah,
live in. And I understand why. And when you from there, you understand how easy it is to just get sucked in into the day to day, and it eat away at you, dog. And you know what I mean. And that's something I knew was like as I reached my ceiling on what I could accomplish, you know, back in Buffalo, and also it's like I understood if I did, you know, reach a level of success that was higher than where I was already at, you know, I was going to be nothing more than a target. And it's understandable when you think about the frame of mind that these individuals operate in, because people that don't know anything about Buffalo, is one of the most segregated cities in the United States. And it's literally like if you can chop up the four sides of the city, you know, you got the east side where it's pretty much predominantly black. You got the west side, which is a mix of, you know, immigrant population, different things like that. So you got Hispanics, you got, you got Africans, Arabs, everybody's kind of just a melting pot. North Buffalo is where like the rich white people stay when they want to, you know, be within the city, you know, doctors
yeah,
or lawyers, maybe some Buffalo Bills and hockey players, and then South Buffalo is like the white trash. Everything outside of that is just the suburbs. And the deeper you go outside of that, it just, you know, raw New York and just raw America is racist as hell. So it's like you drive 35, 40 minutes outside of Buffalo. It's racist as hell. You know what I mean? So it's like I can understand when there's already no options. If you don't work in the medical field or you don't have connections, and a lot of the good jobs, all the white boys and got their friends,
right.
you know, working there. You know how that be. So they got Jimmy John over here who ain't never got a day of experience working in this role, but his homeboy do. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So now he got a job having you got a qualified resume experience and they're not giving it to you. So these are just like the type of things that these people got to deal with, and then they stuck in an environment of just constant
yeah,
chaos, and you know, and over policed. So it's like when they do see somebody that's just being able to come out the hood willy nilly, go back home, go to their apartment, living nice, you know, do what they want to do, and they just got to stay there and they ain't got a means to get out. It's like fuck this nigga, like you know what I mean? It's that's kind of their mentality, and it's like it's fucked up to say, but when you look at it from their perspective, it's like I don't really fault them. It's
yeah,
just like the job of us who make it out is to put them, you know, be in a point to where it's like they don't gotta feel
right.
like that. You know what I mean? And Deontay, you know, talked about this a little bit where he like, you can't show up to the hood in a $250,000 car, but and then you flexing and flaunting, but everybody can't pay their rent. You know what I mean? Like, so everybody here looking at you spend $250,000 willy nilly. Most people in that, damn near nobody in that area even make that type of money
Right.
yearly on a yearly basis. Let alone they may never even see that type of money in their entire life, and they struggling to pay rent. You know, they ain't got no food on the table. They working jobs that require them to sometimes not be able to show up for their family in the way that they would like. And then you got this young motherfucker that's pulling up, flexing, flaunting, you know, acting like they doing something. And it's like, bro, that's not to say that you can't do that and you shouldn't go back,
Yeah.
but the method in which you do it
Yeah.
can be different. You know what I mean? And I think that's really the biggest thing. I think a lot of us, when we get to a certain level of success, need to understand. Like, I don't want to show up in the hood in a $250,000 car if I ain't spent $250,000 to make the hood
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean? And I think that's something I need to. You know, that's something that I would like to approach it with. And you know, you can't save everybody. You can't do everything. It's not no one person's job to solve all the problems of the world. But you know, if you buying a Rolls Royce, man, you got some bread. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's at least a quarter of your. You know what I mean? So it's like, how can you show up for your people to the point that they don't look at
Yeah.
you as a lick or somebody that's just there to get the clout of the area? But how can you show up and show them there's something better? And then to the point you like, yeah, like we really shouldn't be ostracized or made the villain for wanting to leave our neighborhoods. But also we gotta put it in the perspective of we shouldn't feel like we have to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's so many places, and I'm not sure where you at, but there's so many places in the U.S. You got PG County, you got certain neighborhoods in Atlanta and things like that, and it's like you got so many prominent black neighborhoods, and it's like if all these people that did once left or once lived in these areas, kind of put their own time and money into it and some of their resources, what could these areas turn into? And I think that's another question that we should be able to ask ourselves and come together as a community. And it kind of falls into the realm of individualism, which is a lot of times our biggest
Right.
problem.
No, I get that completely. Cause like we kind of it's like that environment's kind of built for us because that's what we're used to. Um, that's what they kind of turn our communities into, honestly. Because even with
That is.
gentrification and stuff too, and then
Mm-hmm.
being held back, like you said, to give John the job, like if we were, I mean, we probably would do it too. I mean, I would. I'd be hiring my friends that
Shit,
I would be doing it. Like my friend, if they had the skills to do the job, I'm hiring them. Like, but I mean, for them, because that, and then we should be okay with that because if the shoe was on the other foot, we of course in a way would be doing the same thing, but I think we would be building each other more up to the statuses of what they're doing now because they're the things that they're doing is holding us back even more because it's kind of we're not even allowed to move forward. Even we get these certain jobs, there's always a story like, oh, this happened, and I think it's like it's meant to happen because they put them things in place for them to get out of that job because they're like, oh well, they didn't belong there anyway because they're secretly like planning to get you out of there of them certain hierarchy
yeah,
jobs.
yeah. I done been in that position before. I done worked in corporate
Yeah,
America. And, you work with managers, racist as hell, microaggressions. They doing everything to push you out, and I definitely been there. And one thing I always wish is I wish I could work for an all black company. I show up every day and everybody look like me, and it's kind of hard to find an all black company that's hiring people been around for a
yeah,
long time, really know what they're doing with the business. And I think it go back to those that do become successful. Like, we need to be offering
yeah,
people jobs. You know what I mean? Like, what is you doing to bring jobs not only to the neighborhood but just to your people? And I think that's something that I get into a position, to where I can finally offer people roles. I want to go out there to HBCUs and, chop it up with people and, talk to people and see what their skills is. And I think that just comes from being a part of the community. You see where somebody's thriving and you like, oh man, like this young kid could be a great
absolutely.
engineer. Let me work on giving them a scholarship or something to a school. And once they're done, I hire them. Like, different things like that, hiring young lawyers and things like. The problem is so many talented young black people, they just don't get the opportunity. And even if they do get the opportunity, don't nobody believe in them. By the time they get to where they want to be, they beat it and broken because the system and the things that's in place they kind of withered them down to what they used to be. So, that's why a lot of times you see people have very high aspirations in certain careers, and they're a couple of years in and they cook. They done lost their way. You know what I mean? Now you're a corporate lawyer doing dirty
Right.
work, instead of protecting people that you didn't want to protect because you worried about your paycheck, which is rightfully so. You got to survive and make a way for yourself. You don't want to go back to what you used to be in. So it's a sense of survival, but we got to be willing to take a gamble on
Yeah.
one another, I think.
So this question is not up there. I just thought about it. So I know we all are about doing or building generational wealth, and I knew, like we both said, we would hire people if we was in them jobs. But it made me think, like, since we're trying to build generational wealth, is there almost like some generational fear because of what they do when we get to that level? Like, for example, what they did with Tulsa and Lake Lanier. So when we have that community
Right.
with all the black jobs and it's all people that look like us, and we're actually building something. Do you think like is generational fear in that because of what they done in the past? Because they could still probably get away with it now too.
I mean, yeah, and I think there's that trauma that get passed down from
Yeah,
generations, stories and stories. But I think like knowing our history is very important, obviously, and we need to know what happened to make sure that we can do our best to avoid it and work around these type of things. But also, I think like when we tell these type of stories, we need to weave in hope. You know what I mean? In the sense of like it maybe didn't work this time, but it can
yeah,
work again. And we know if that's what they come in to do, then we already know we should be prepared. You know what I'm saying? We should be able to be community policing and have the security and the resources ready to defend ourselves if
yeah,
necessary. And that's what it's really all about. Is when people always talk about defending ourselves, it's not necessarily about gathering an army to go out here and just openly wage war against white supremacists. It's more so just about being able to defend
yeah,
what's yours and not let nobody do that. And I think if we have those things in place, we going up against people that aren't accustomed to being in a battle. They don't know what it's like to be shot at. These crazy ass white boys. They go to the range and yeah, I can shoot a deer from 100 meters out and all this other shit. But a deer not gonna shoot back. And when you go to the range, you shooting in one direction at a target. You're not worried about two other people shooting at you. You ain't never had to so a lot of times it's like they're emboldened, number one, by the systems that surround us, the law enforcement, the police. But when they face real opposition, that's not something they're
yeah,
ready for. And if we organize, we strategic in how we protect ourselves, I don't think that's something that we generally have to worry about. And eventually we're gonna have to get over that fear if we're gonna get to where we want to be. And we're gonna have to be ready to address
yeah,
that head on because that's the only way we can address it. We can't just do something. We can't build ourselves up and just be whispering in the meeting rooms like, damn, like when is it gonna happen? Everybody wondering, people nervous. Like, can't nobody live in the moment and enjoy what we actually doing because they always worried about what
right,
might happen. But if we got security and measures in place, then that ain't something that we really got to worry about. So I understand the fear. It's rightfully so. It's generational trauma that's been passed down from one another, and it's something that did happen. But as time moves forward, I think we are in better position to address it more so than ever.
okay, yeah. I'm glad I said that because it made me think of that. It's like okay, because I know a lot of people probably stuck and they can't move forward so it kind of paralyzes them. So even their thought is just an idea that should be shared so they can move forward and build something, even for not just for themselves, for other people. So, so I've always watched your videos and stuff. Uh, so, do you feel like your upbringing made you passionate about wanting to speak up, or did you say enough is enough and wanted to speak up about the community anyway?
I think it's a mix of both, but it's probably 70% my upbringing, 30% enough is enough. You know what I mean? Growing up, like my dad is real pro black. Our old idea of what pro black is. You know what I mean? But growing up, my dad would make me study like these civil rights, history cards. George Washington Carver, Madam C.J. Walker. all these individuals, Malcolm X, uh, Booker T.
Yeah.
Washington, all of these people. And every day my dad would test me and my sister and ask us facts and different things like that. And then my dad was the history person, and then my mom was like, the math and science person. So, if I needed help with my math and science homework, I'm going to my mom. If I need help with my history stuff, I'm going to my dad. Now, me and my sister are pretty much like carbon copies of my parents. I look just like my dad, just lighter, and my sister looked literally just like my mom, no difference. But and I guess we picked up on the same thing when it comes to what our strong suits is. Is mine is history, my sister is great at math. And growing up, going through school, I'm talking with my dad. My dad telling me the real stuff. Like, I'm 8, 9 years old, and he telling me about slavery, but the real deal. Like they used to tar and feather us. They used to cut our feet, and all the stuff that all the horrific things that would happen. And I'm 9, 10 years old, looking in these books, seeing black people hung in trees and things like that. And then my dad telling me about Malcolm X, and I always knew like having these conversations. It's like my dad would tell me about all the great things that we did, but I'm like, man, like I'm like, okay, where's the people fighting back? Like we just taking this shit, like what I'm saying. I'm 8 or 9, like yo, like what's going on? So then my dad started telling me like I said about Malcolm X and Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party and all this type of stuff. So and then my dad always told me to be a leader, not a follower, and that's one of the biggest things. And if you believe that you're right and you know that you're right, do always do the right thing and say what's right. And so I would be in history class, and when we would talk about certain things like slavery or the civil rights movement, I would just be raising my hand like, that's kind of how it happened, but it wasn't like that. Like this, and this happened. And at first, the teachers kind of didn't like that because I would kind of get real graphic with it, being like, this happened, and like
Yeah.
almost paralyzing other kids in fear about what's actually going on. But then as time went on, and I'm going through school, I got friends and stuff. I would be in history class, and my teachers almost would just ask, "Is there anything you want to add at this point?" Like, you know what I mean? Like that's how my teachers were, and I would be giving my friends game about Black history because there's certain things they just didn't know, and they'd be like, "Oh, how you know this?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, my parents, this and that," and I'm growing up in a house where they're telling you, if you can't use your comb, don't bring your home, all
Yeah.
that type of stuff. So, like that's my household. Like, you know what I mean? And my grandma, she was very pro-black. She was dark-skinned black woman, beautiful, but she always said the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Like, so these are all the things that
Yeah.
I'm hearing in my home, in my family, and that just translated it to who I am. And as time went on, and I just went through school, and talking to my friends, I used to, you'll see me. I got glasses and stuff, but I used to have a low cut, all that type of stuff. And my friends used to call me Malcolm X, like I raised my hand in history call. Here go Malcolm X again, like all this type of stuff. And at first, I'm like, come on, bro, like what I mean. But I started realizing it was a
Yeah.
compliment. You know what I mean? Because roasting and shit, but I started realizing it was a compliment. Like, and I embraced it and I appreciated that. And I still to this day I talk to my friends from back in middle school and stuff, and they like, bro, you still ain't changed, dog. Like, you know what I mean? So it's really my upbringing, and then the thing that really like flipped the main switch about how I really approach how I move throughout the world was Trayvon Martin, like it was for a
Yeah.
lot of us. And, that shit just it fucked all of us up. And I just remember just sitting there with my dad watching this on the news, and my dad telling me like, I know this is tough, but don't forget this is how they treat black people in America, and this is how they villainize young black men. And that's something that stuck with me because one thing my dad never let me do was like look away. It's not like he forced me, like you got to look at this, in
Yeah.
my face. But he just like you. I want you to understand really what's going on and grasp this. Like, you know what I'm saying? You cannot trust these people for nothing. You know what I mean? You can't trust these people. Don't get caught alone with them. Like, all that type of stuff. And growing up, my dad experienced a lot of racism, especially in Buffalo. Growing up as in the 70s and 80s and stuff. So he got a lot of stuff and stories that he didn't told me growing up that just I'm like, damn, but I'm not surprised. So that's really what got me to where I am today. And I just continue to, do research and, just figure out more so what I can do. And over the past couple of years, I realized that, I've always just been somebody that wants to speak up for my people, but with TikTok and just how things just been unfolding over the past couple of years, I realized that this is what I want my life's work to be is, making a positive impact on my community and, I understand that maybe the way I may choose to go about it ain't the same, and everybody got a different direction. But there's more than one path to the final destination, and as long as we get there without interrupting each other or actively sabotaging each other, then hey, let people work. And that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to things. Who going people that's gonna get on board is gonna get on board. Those that don't, hey, if they're not actively in your way, let them be. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, that's. I wish it was more of that, but hey, um, everybody got their different ways of raising their kids. But I think you're doing a great
Yeah,
job, honestly. Like I don't even
appreciate
remember.
it.
You might have popped up my for you page. I don't know. You might. I don't know. But yeah, because I'm like, yeah, he know what he talking about. I was for real, like no joke. Like I'm like, okay. I'm like, dang, Am I speaking up how I need to be? But nah,
Hey man,
you doing great though.
that's what it's all about. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate that. And it's really the support from like you and other people that like-minded individuals that I met along the way that inspired me to keep going. People in the community and things like that. And I know I'm not perfect. I don't trying to. I always say it all the time. I don't be out here acting like I got all the answers, nor do I think it's not. Nor is it my job to have all the answers. This is a community effort. You know what I'm saying? And it's up to us as individuals within our community to come together and build a coalition that's going to get us to where we want to be. And I'm all for working with and networking with like-minded individuals. Um, and I just hope that I can kind of be a Nick Fury to the Avengers, one day. And that's kind of like
Yeah,
my dream. Is assemble a great team and watch them work. You know what I mean? And really, strategize and help them do everything that I possibly can. So that's kind of my dream and my life's work. And I hope I can continue that, as much as
yeah, you
possible.
definitely inspiring people. Even if they don't want to admit it, you definitely are. Absolutely, without a doubt. Um, oh well, I guess move on to that question. Or do you want to say anything or ask a question?
Um, trying to think. My biggest thing is like, with what got you started, and kind of what's your journey been like in relation to a lot of the things that's been going on and just TikTok in general. Like, kind of that same question for you is, was it kind of just your upbringing? Was it a little mix of both? Was it something that kind of set you on a path?
Yeah, so I guess kind of like you, I always wanted to use my voice. When I first did this, like started this podcast, like because I was like, okay, let me. It's like, well, and then I was watching this guy because Trent Shelton. I would watch his videos all the time too, and I was like, hey, I said, I kind of want to do something like that. And like somebody kind of spoke over my life, like I would be doing something, speaking in front of people like that. I don't know if it's like public speaking or anything like that, or a motivational speaker, or a life coach, whatever. Uh, I don't even look at myself as those things neither. Like I feel like I kind of give people examples of like what I've been through to be like, okay,
Hmm.
maybe I've been through something similar, so maybe I can relate. Or if I get to a situation like that, I know how to assess it because I don't want to do like what he talked about. I don't want to do it like that. I want to do it like this. So I just kind of wanted to do that and just share it. Like I try. I don't share it too much, but I try to give people better examples to so they can because everybody's life because this podcast is about life. Everybody's life journey is different from others, and it's always have different seasons. So through the good and the bad, you should always try to push yourself forward and motivate. So I want to motivate people as much as possible. I know I'm not perfect. Absolutely not. But yeah, and I think even from growing up, yeah, in a way, and then because I talk about my past and childhood and stuff, and then what is it now? Like recently, I've been talking more about my childhood, and then my mom, she wanted me to talk about what is it, Maslow's hierarchy. I don't know if you know about that. The the
Nah,
needs in
that's
psychology, um, like physical need, physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem needs, and self actualization, and then what is it? Erickson's stages as well. Is trust, mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus role confusion, intimacy versus isolation. It's just about like how you were brought up, like, and you gave a perfect example like that because how you were brought up, it kind of made you who you are now, and you still holding to that testament of that and living proof of it. That
Yeah,
you can
for
say
sure.
that you was raised right and you were guided right and like nurtured in the right way to how you carry yourself now.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, your mom dropping some gems because I didn't even know
Yeah,
about that. Like, yo, you gotta tap into that and let me know because I'm curious
yeah,
now for sure. Because
because a
I
lot of
ain't.
people, for like, I guess they don't talk about it as much, but it's like from psychology class. But I mean, whenever you want to come back, we can dive more into that. But I guess it's more of a
Hey, yeah.
more
Oh,
detailed version of nature versus nurture, but with way complex, more complex. But
yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, definitely. I mean, send me some info. I'll do some research. We can come back and chop
yeah,
up
yeah.
about this again. That's,
But yeah, that's why I do this
that's,
podcast. Honestly, I try to network as much as possible. Like, I interview people with black businesses and stuff, because everybody, and then does anybody really like pretend are, or I guess advocates for us to share their story because everybody has a story. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, bro, that's
yeah,
awesome, bro.
I mean, I've been taking breaks and stuff, and stuff like that. I know people are like, what did he be doing? But yeah,
Hey, bro, it be like that, dog. A lot of this stuff be overwhelming, bro. Like that. I don't know, like sometimes I make a video and it do well, it get views, whatever, and you get all these. You would go and check one day, bro. You got 300 comments, and you just be like, "Fuck!" Like, you know what I mean, bro? I'll be like, "Shit!" Like, I try my best to go through it because I want to see what people talking about. Also, I want to get the weirdo motherfuckers up out of there and all that type of stuff. I'm like trying to like do my own filter and policing in the
right,
comments and all that type of stuff, engaging with people and things like that. But sometimes, bro, I just be like, it be sometimes I just look at it and maybe like after the first day, I'll be like, okay, whatever. And I'm checking the comments. And then after that, I just be like, fuck, like, you know what I mean? I might look at the comments maybe every other day or something like that and just go and scroll because it be so
yeah,
overwhelming, dog. You know what I mean? So all that stuff is you definitely got to take a break. Um, you know what I'm saying? That's what, I was talking to some of my friends and stuff, and they like, bro, you too hard on yourself because I'm thinking about trying to go to Jamaica for my birthday, and I was telling my friends, I was like, nah, I think I'm just gonna try to stack my bread and focus on this investment that I'm
yeah,
trying to do, and just stack my bread for that instead. And they like, nah, bro, you gotta go because everybody needs some rest and you need to relax, bro, and you know what I mean. You deserve to chill and be around people that look like you and just relax. So I'm like, yeah, they didn't talk me back into going, so I'm like, all right, I go, I
yeah,
guess. So you know what I'm saying? I guess I go, you know
yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, okay, cool. I haven't been back to Jamaica in a long time, so I'm like, yeah, it's definitely time for me to go back. But yeah, man, I feel you 100% on the breaks, dog. I
Yeah,
do.
definitely deserve relaxation, some relaxation. Honestly, get that break because, like, I think
Yeah.
you say what people are thinking or want to say, but in a passionate, poetic way, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what draws people in.
I
And it's
appreciate
like you're very honest. Like, there's no fakeness about what you're saying or like a facade. Like, it's straight up. Like, oh yeah, yep. That's why I said I was like. I
it.
think one time I commented I was like, is it you were loud and right because people be loud and wrong, but you were loud and right. Like this, that's exactly what needs to be said.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that, bro. Because I'll be very conscious about what I say, and a lot of things I talk about, it's things I didn't thought about
yeah,
for months, years, days, weeks, whatever. And it's just finally the pieces of the puzzle that came together in a way that I would like to articulate it. Then I'm like, okay, let me do this before I kind of lose my train of thought or whatever the case may be. So, no, I definitely appreciate that, and I think the biggest thing is I just don't know how to be nothing but myself, dog. You know what I mean? I don't feel comfortable acting, and that's why I'm not no actor. I'm not no rapper. I'm not an entertainer or nothing like that, dog. You know what I'm saying? People may find what I say
Yeah,
entertaining, but for the most part, I'm not somebody that's like to be out here and have a lot of attention, contrary to my videos. But I like to kind of just make my videos and go on about my business and go touch some
yeah,
grass. And so um, I definitely appreciate that because a lot of times I look back at my videos and I'm like, I could have said this a little bit better. I could have worded this a little bit better, but I'll let it
yeah.
rock out.
Because like there's been times like I even tried to like okay, I guess kind of script my like I'll leave notes. I'm like okay, and try to then I go off and I'm like then I'll go and listen sometimes and I'm like dang I should have talked about this and I'm like then sometimes I go in a tangent. I like this last one, the one before this I was talking. Then I finally got to the point I felt like to a real like the idea of it and I was like well
Yeah,
but
that be my biggest thing. Is the tangents be killing my conversations, bro. I'll be talking to like my brother and shit, and I be like, but me and him be so in sync that we would be talking, and I'd be like, we both be like, yo, what were we talking about? And then we be like, man, whatever. And then the minute that we say kind of just forget about it, I'd be like, oh, this is what we was talking about. We be like, oh yeah. Then we just keep on chopping it up. And anyway, this is what I was talking about. But
right
yeah, we'd jump into something else. So nah, I'm already knowing, bro. It's that be killing my combos too sometimes. And then I'll come back and be like, what was my original point? Oh yeah, yeah. Now let me get to
I
the full
got you.
circle. You know what I mean? So.
All right. Well, this question is kind of touchy, but I mean, I feel like it needs to be talked about because I think a lot of people probably maybe feel this way. Um,
Mhm.
do you feel like the world is trying to make the black man an endangered species?
Man, I feel like they're trying to make black
Yeah,
people an endangered species, dog. And I feel like I don't know. It's like as time goes on, I don't really think anybody based on like their gender really has a specific role. Like, I can't there's women I know that got way more heart than a lot of these men
yeah,
out here. You know what I'm saying? It's like I think and these are like such white supremacist structures where it's like the men's supposed to do this, the women's supposed to do this, this and that. Like the only people that have a role to play that they don't really know their role is, and it's just they kind of get to run around willy nilly and kind of live with no fucks given as kids. You know what I'm saying? But like, only thing I'm like is as long as we protecting the kids, I don't care who doing what. You know what I'm saying? If like you said, you got the woman king and stuff like that. Like if it's up to me, you know what I mean. I have a Dora Milaje lined up. You know what I mean? Because that's my dream scenario. You know what I'm saying? If somebody asks me, hey, you had a group of security guards, what would they? Dora Milaje, give me all women because I look at it like this: people gonna always doubt women because they sexist and misogynistic. And imagine you got a bodyguard and she a woman and she whoop a dude ass. Imagine how embarrassed he gonna be. You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like they really I feel like they just do it in such a strategic way to which sometimes we don't see the connecting pieces and how they attack in
yeah,
our community, and it feels very individualistic based on a group. Like, you know what I mean? And they do, and it's like they break us up and then they do attack us. You know what I mean? That's like me and you walking somewhere and a nigga snatch me up and then a nigga snatch you up, and it's like they beating me over here in the alley and then they beat you over here in the alley, and then we come back together like, bro, where was you at? Like, bro, we was both getting our ass beat. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what it's
yeah,
like. You know what I mean? So everybody kind of like we all done getting our ass whooped, and we like, yo, where was you at? He was like, nah, you left me behind. And instead of worrying about who whooped our ass, we worried about what happened to folks that who was our folks when we got our ass whooped. So that's kind of how I look at it, where it's like we got to kind of be focused more so on who did the ass whooping instead of where our folks was when we got our ass whooped. So I feel like at certain times it's like they like I said, they cut us off and then they isolate us from one another and then they find ways to like warp our mentality and make us
yeah,
enemies. You know what I'm saying? You got the red pill content, you got the conservative crab wife mindset, and all this type of stuff. Even with the young nigga shit, like everybody young nigga this, young nigga that, young nigga in corporate, young nigga electrician. It's like basically, oh, we let thugs in everywhere and do anything. That's basically what you're saying. When it's just a young black man that got dreads or you know what I'm saying, fit some type of racial description that they got in their head, and they like, oh, You know, he a young nigga. That's the only way that it allows white people to come to terms with a black person doing better than them is they can belittle them by calling them a young nigga or
Yeah,
some shit like that. Like, oh, basically a thug, you know, playing as a corporate man is how they say it. They think, you know what I'm saying? We playing dress up when we go to these roles, and you know, when we done, we just a thug,
yeah,
you know, and that's not the case. And you know, they got black women like black women mad, black women not feminine enough. Like all this stuff is based off white supremacy. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? We people often talk about black women can't lead and all this other stuff, but motherfuckers grew up with their granny. Like they granny running the family. Like everybody respond to granny. Or you go, you know what I'm saying? We go into grandma's house. She got the final word. You know what I mean? She telling moms what to do. She telling dad what to do. All this other stuff. She telling grandpa what to do. You know what I mean? So when we really think about it, like the black women already run everything in the community. You know, it's just this facade that black men, you know, sometimes like not have a say so, but like are the ones that's really running the show. When in reality, it's just teamwork and you know somebody that's trying to take the credit for it. So yeah, we are getting attacked, but you know, we are getting attacked, and the problem is with our attacks is just we're isolated and kind of getting our ass whooped on an individual basis, and then coming back and blaming our brothers and
yeah,
sisters for it. So that's why I kind of feel like so much division in our community because you know we are getting attacked simultaneously and don't really have a way to connect and you know kind of attack it and organize and you know get our bearings back together.
yeah. They've been a little too good at dividing us for over time. Um,
Yeah. That's a fact, bro. That device of that divide and conquer shit. That's a strategy. It's old in time, but that should still be
yeah,
working, bro. And I don't. It's crazy that people never grasp onto it. Like it just don't make no sense. It's just it's the old okie doke, dog. Like that's how I look at it.
literally, we just, I don't know. It's gonna be it's a long process to bring us back together and stuff. Because you gave a great example because that's definitely how it is. Like we're in the same boat. Um, in the same boat. You both got attacked. We gotta go against the person that did the attacking. Um,
Mhm. I agree, man.
yeah.
100%.
Okay. So is black love an idea for some people or just a way of life?
That's a good one, man. Um, shit. I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. When we talk about it being an idea, I think of like sometimes if it's an idea for somebody, I think it's something, you know, they're idealistic about it. You know what I mean? They feel like they should just find a person. They should be able, everything should just be a fairy tale
Yeah.
and, you know, black love gets through it. You know, and that's just not how nothing in life works. Like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be gracious of the fact that you get to participate in black love, but you still gotta do the normal work of a relationship. Black love just not gonna hold it all together. Um, but it's essential to kind of you know, walk the walk and, you know, as much as you talk the talk. And I think a lot of people don't do that. And there's so many layers to black love. I think, you know, I don't think it's an idea. I just think it's something that we naturally do and we put a name on what's already
Right.
normal to us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think we more so normalize and spend more time highlighting people that date outside our race because they always have these negative conversation starters, you know,
Yeah.
they, you know, all of these things so they quickly draw attention to themselves. And then we don't realize like the average black person is dating another black person, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you a black person that got common sense, you know you really think about certain things. It's like, do you want to have to explain some racist ass microaggression to some white chick? I don't want to spend my time trying to validate my humanity to some white woman because she don't really understand what I'm going through, or she can just be like, Bayo, I sympathize with you. You okay, but you don't really get it. You know what I'm saying? I can't lay in the bed with a woman that don't get it. You know what I mean? I need somebody that understand me, understand the nuances. Like there's so many fine details to what it means to be black that unless you part of it, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We could be out, you know, something happened and we just give each other a look and we got an understanding. You know what I mean? It's just that mental telepathy. I don't want to have to worry about trying to get some Asian chick a look and she don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. She like, oh, what's wrong? Like, okay, we clearly not on the same page. Like, you know what I'm saying? And those are things that are dangerous to us as well. It puts us in danger because if we the only ones picking up on it in a room when we by ourselves, then we in danger. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm in there with my girl and we both detectives, we got each other back. I'm in there with my homeboys. We both understand what's really happening. We understand how things unfolded. Now, some people just sometimes just come, take a little bit longer to come to terms with it. Like, yo, is this really happening right now? That's normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? But for somebody to be like, I don't know if it's racist or not. I don't got time to be knowing, be explaining and wanting you to guess and understand if shit racist or not. I say the shit racist, the shit racist, man. Like I know what racism look like. You know what I mean? So I'm not about to validate that to nobody. And those are just some of the things. And it's like I want somebody that understand our culture, understand our people. Like I want to be deeply engulfed with my people in our culture, and I don't want to have to explain anything to nobody. I just want them to get it and it clicks. You know what I'm saying? And that's not work that I'm willing to put in. For those that are, hey, do your thing. But for me, I already know what my cup of tea is. So you know what I'm saying? Like tea, like tea, dog. That's all I'm saying, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that's
No,
just how I
no,
like to move.
yeah. I mean,
But
that's
that's
the best way to look at it, honestly. Because then you like, because this is about learning somebody, and then like that stuff should be already like you should already know that. You
yeah.
should already know that. Like I have.
It makes shit so much difficult, bro. You think about how difficult a relationship already is, dog. Like you learning and understanding somebody that grew up in a totally different world than you. You know what I'm saying? Like we did not live the same life. Nobody lives the same exact life unless you twins and then they grew up in the same household. But still, you don't because y'all got different experiences. So it's like you trying to build a life with somebody that didn't grow up the same way you did, don't have the same experiences, went through different traumas and things. All of that, getting a better understanding about how y'all work, finding finding just the little nuances, finding y'all rhythm, finding y'all flow. All that shit is very difficult and takes a lot of work and a lot of time. Adding a layer of race on top of that, fuck no. You can have that, dog. I can't, dog. I can't. Like, that's too much work, bro. That's too much work. That's not work I'm willing to put in, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Some people want to, and it's not that big a deal. Love will get us through. Good job, bro. Good luck on that. Because when the police pull you over, you know what I'm saying? That's when reality will smack you dead in the fucking face. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that it's just like, for those that do it, you
Yeah,
got it, dog.
even with
You
history,
know,
history. I mean, time and time again,
mm,
history like repeats itself, or it prove you right. Like, oh dang, I maybe you shouldn't have been messing with that.
yeah. Ain't nothing like a
Like,
black woman, dog. You know
like
what I'm saying?
in the back of my mind is
I
like,
just keep it.
is the the stuff come up because I'm like, okay, the different stories, wait until they say you whistled. I'm like,
Mm,
I couldn't like even imagine like like dating one because I'm like stuff like that. And then now, fast forward, um, the thing with Jonathan Majors, um, and that junk gets me heated. And like, I mean, I keep bringing up the fact. I said he was running in loafers on video. Like, come on.
man, I'm telling you, it put you in that stick. It's put you in sticky situations that you
Yeah,
shouldn't be in, dog. And one movie and one scene that every time I reference it, people be like, "Huh?" And I'll be like, that movie really like stuck with me." Is Daddy's Little Girl? You remember in Daddy's Little Girl, bro? When he was the basketball player, he was fucking with that white chick, and that's how he got that
yeah,
record. And he wasn't able to do certain things because of that record because that white girl lied on him. She said he tried to rape her and all this other shit, and it didn't happen. And because the parents came in, that shit stuck with me so much, bro. I was like, nah, I'm good. I already knew about Emmett Till, arts and stuff, but then I'm like, then you see that shit, and I'm like, nah, dog, I'm definitely good, bro, because it's like it take one time, bro. It's one time, like every time. If you a black man, every time you try to sleep with a white woman, you risking your life. You risking your life, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because if shit don't go your way, for some reason, if something just don't sit right with her, them tears will get you over 40 years, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is not a fucking joke. People be getting saying that shit is a phrase, but that shit is
Yeah.
true, bro. You know, if a white woman say something, they gonna believe her way better, quicker than they gonna believe a black man. And you know what I'm saying? That's already the gender thing where it's like, women and men. So you already know how that is. It's like, okay, we gonna listen to it. We're gonna hear what a woman has to say because a man shouldn't be in these situations, putting women in these situations. You a man, you're not expected to, make women feel unsafe. Then you add the fact that she a white man. Ooh, yeah, got
Especially a
that
lot
dog.
of those
You got
movies
that one.
that just are imitating life and
Mm-hmm. Life be
factual
real scary.
events. Um, I'm pretty sure you can answer this question um, easily, like without in your sleep. It's a new question that I've been asking. Do you know who you are?
I mean, that's a layered question though, man. It's a good question, and I know who I am in the present moment, and I know who I am today. You know what I'm saying? I have my core values, I have my principles, I have my morals, um, which will never change. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that has to do with the loyalty to my people, to my community. There's nothing on this planet that could ever change that. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing. There's not no one. There's not no scenario that could change. How I feel about my
Yeah,
people. You know what I'm saying? I would rather die than turn my back on my people. But as I get older, how I approach things, my mentality towards certain things, that's gonna change, and that just come with experience. That come with time, and I think the thing that separates a lot of people as time goes on is just one thing to be smart. It's a way better thing to be wise. And I don't always want to be the smartest in the room, and I always don't want to be the wisest in the room. But I would take being wise over being smart because if you smart and you got experience, that's where being wise coming. And I think that's more important than being able to name off political theory to somebody, and try to belittle. Oh, you don't know nothing about Marx, or you don't know about this, and you don't know about that. Like, we gotta approach things situationally, and I'm a big situational person. You know what I'm saying? And how I engage with people is situational. The conversations or the tone, and the older I get, there's something I've always been in tune with is, people and just reading people and understanding. I'm a people watcher. And my mom said I was like that since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? I watched other kids playing on the playground. She asked me, oh, why don't you want to play with the kids? And I'm like, I'm cool. I'm enjoying myself, which I really was. But I was also watching their dynamic. I know this kid the bully. I know this kid the crybaby. I know this kid a follower. And I know this kid a leader. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to see who, fit in with who I want to play with based on
yeah,
that, that demographic right there. So I've always been a people person. I've always been a people watcher. The older I get, just through my career, I've learned, my confidence and how to, talk to people and engage with people that I've never met and be more comfortable networking. That's something I've learned as I gotten older. But I've always been a good judge of character and just who people are. You're not always perfect, but I give people time to really show who
yeah,
they is, and that's just something that I just like to sit back, watch, and hear people talk. So that all flows into the man I'll be tomorrow is not too different than the man I am today, but I just hope to be better. When I wake up tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I try to be 1% better every day, learn a little bit something new, try to work a little bit closer to my goals and things like that. And I hope I leave back. I hope I leave behind a legacy that make my people proud. You know what I'm saying? Because if it make them proud, then it make me proud. And I done everything I feel like I was sent here to do.
yeah. You're very wise.
I got a lot to learn, dog. I got a lot to learn, bro. But I think that's the beauty of life. You know what I'm saying? And that's what help you fall in love with living is, even though life is unpredictable, it can be scary sometimes. I mean, would you want to live in a life where you know everything that happens? I feel like that take away the
Yeah,
beauty of it. If you knew when it was your time, and you knew this and you knew that, like, what's the point of living, bro? You already know how things gonna play out. What's the point? Like, you know what I'm saying? I look at life like a movie. You know what I'm saying? You got to get to the
yeah,
end, and that's really what it's all about. I'm curious to see how my movie end, man. And you know what I'm saying? And I want to be able to look back, rewind, and enjoy the journey, not only when I look back, but as I'm going through it. So, um, That's really my biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? Is just enjoy living, enjoy life, make the world a better place than what you left it, and have fun, man. Like you know what I'm saying. I know, like on my videos, I'm real serious, but I'm goofy as hell in person, bro. Like you know what I'm saying. When I chop it up with people, I'm goofy. Like I just you know I understand shit just be tense and serious and
Yeah,
things like that, and I can always have those conversations, but I want to be around my community. I want my community to feel safe, and I want people to have a good time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those dudes that's gonna shut down a party with some type of speech.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And like take the mic and we need to be better. You know what I'm saying? We not doing enough as people. We need to get our stuff together. Like yo, let everybody enjoy their time. Let people sip they drink, smoke they smoke, do whatever people want to do. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's embracing your community is gonna make you keep your
Yeah,
humanity. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something, especially if you're trying to push forward through life and as you go through things and we deal with things and different things like that. Like often when especially when you're doing activism work, speaking up for your people, talking about life, these things, you can often become desensitized to a lot of these things. And also, especially with the stuff that we as black people go through, we become very upset, rightfully so, and it almost feel like we got to lose our humanity to get our freedom.
yeah,
And I think our community is always going to be what maintains our humanity. And I think that's the difference between us and them is they don't have a sense of community. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever seen these people operate, but the way that they engage with each other is very similar to the way that they engage with us. They hate themselves just as much as
yeah,
they hate us. And that's the difference between us and them. Like when I go home and a white boy go home, you know what I'm saying? I know I'm gonna get embraced by my community. I know I can call my homeboy. I can reach out, chop it up with you on TikTok. I can do a lot of things. I got a lot of people I can reach out to, have conversations with, parties I can go to, events I can do, whatever I feel like. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna embrace my people. We gonna have a good time wherever we go. No matter how serious it is, people gonna have fun at a funeral. People gonna have fun at anything. You know what I'm saying? We know what a good time is, and we used to having to make a good time out of a bad time. So I think like that's what saves a lot of us and like helps us maintain our humanity and reminds us of what
yeah,
we're here to do is the community that we see and we love to enjoy and being a part of. And I think that's something that's always important to me. Like the community is my gauge. The community holds me accountable. You know what I'm saying? And there's times to where I'm like, okay, the community tripping. Maybe I should say something, but at the end of the day, if I can't go against the people. I can only set a new tone and a new path set forward. But if the people not feeling it, who am I to tell the people what to do? You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to be a king or nothing
right.
like that. Like you got to find a better way to communicate and get your message across. If that's the point.
Absolutely. That's exactly how it's supposed to be.
You know?
You can't change everybody.
Hey man,
So,
people got to change
yeah,
themselves first.
absolutely. So, final question. There's no right or wrong answer. This is probably one of my favorite questions that I've came up with because everybody has their own perspective when they answer it. Do you want to move hills or do you want to move mountains?
Shit, man, I want to move the world. That's what I want to do. Mountains and hills ain't enough for me, dog. I'm trying to move the whole world. I'm trying to be a mover, a shaker, a visionary. I'm trying to be everything I can be, um, and everything the world didn't expect me to be. So that's that's really my goal. You know what I'm saying? And like I said earlier, I just want to leave the world in a better place than I found it. And I want to create something that people never even thought possible. You know what I mean? I want to be able to bring something to this world that other people only dreamed of. You know what I'm saying? Things that you only read about in books and you know things that you could only hope for as a black person. I want to make hope a reality as much as I can. You know what I mean? And I want to bring people's dreams to life, and hopefully, I can do that. With the path that I want to set for myself, and the people that I bring along with me. So, that's really kind of my thing.
I like that. I want to move the world. Yeah, yeah. Well, you want to guess tell them your social media, tell them you follow you, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So you can follow me on all my social media, Quietstorm 1597. That's on Instagram. That's on TikTok. I believe that's on YouTube too. I ain't listen. I ain't even put nothing on YouTube in a
Yeah,
long time, man. That's why I tell people I'm not a content creator, dog. I'm not a content creator, but like, I'm just out here and I like to connect with my people. So I don't got the time and patience. People like you, people like Deontay that spend time editing and all that. Man, more power to y'all, dog. More power to y'all. I tried that stuff a couple times, and hey, it ain't for me. So yeah, Quiet Storm 1597 is where you can find me at. Once again, my name is AJ. Um, and I hope I was able to, be as good as a guest as I can. And this was,
absolutely.
you know, as this really was this was an experience that I enjoyed as I hope you enjoyed it as much as I
Absolutely,
did
bro.
because this was great, man. This type of stuff I love to do more. You know what I mean? Like I feel like talking to people, like-minded people, like yourself, and all that type of stuff is what it's really all about. The videos is just the start, but this is the end game.
Okay. So what's up? Well, this has been the Airbrand Podcast. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for being on here. We definitely have you back, and have you in other podcasts with the bros. I think you'll get along with them too.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
y'all
So.
stay blessed.